All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to another wonderful episode of the HHC podcast. I am your host, Jacob Moreno, and I'm here with my brother Juan for today's exciting episode. Juan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Spurs W's all week.
Spurs W's all week, brother. For sure, for sure. This week has been a very exciting week. We went 3-0. We kicked butt, right? We came out and we did what we needed to do, right? So before we get into the podcast, a couple things. We do this on we live stream this every week on at 10 o'clock on Sundays, right? And we stream to YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. If you cannot catch us throughout the live stream, then we have our VODs available on all three platforms right after, so you can catch anything that you miss, or just rewatch the pod, right? Obviously, we don't have the other two broskies this morning. They're currently out doing their thing right now, but it's all good. We gotta.
Hey,
we
both
had
of them celebrating or something. Vacation, a little bit of party, a little bit of relaxation.
Exactly.
Good
I
for
personally can't wait to do that after my finals are out. I'm ready to get out of college for this first semester and have a nice month of relaxation.
Exactly.
Yeah. But with that, I think we can kind of go ahead and get right into the recap. Like I said before, we had gone 3-0 on the week. We played against the Washington Wizards, against the Portland Trail Blazers, and against the Golden State Warriors. To start off the week, we played against the Washington Wizards, and we had beat them 116-99. In that game, the most notable player was Derrick White, who had 24, 5, and 5 on 10 for 21 shooting.
But most notably, that third quarter where he had like 18 points himself.
Exactly, right. That's such a really strong push by Derrick. That probably one of the first times this season, right? Like I'd say that he was able to just kind of take control of a quarter and be able to show that, like, once Derrick's on, we really can't be stopped, right? But another thing to note is that Josh Primo did play 12 minutes that night and did go 2 for 2 from the field.
Yeah, during the thick of the game. It wasn't garbage time. It was, hey, we need you to go out there and play some solid basketball. And he did. He got bullied a couple times by Bradley Beal, but hey, that's a grown man.
That's all-star Bradley Beal. That's
Josh Primo is 10 years old trying to guard.
Exactly.
So, and those are the type of mistakes that are not mistakes, but just the learning pains you'll live with. It's fine.
For sure. Another thing real quick, just because I like to see this type of stat line, but like KJ went 13, 2, and 5 on 6 for 8 shooting. Always love seeing KJ with an efficient game, because the beginning of the season just wasn't so efficient, right? Moving on real quick though, we wiped the Portland Trail Blazers, or the Damian Lillard-less Portland Trail Blazers, right? 114-83. In that game, both Doug and Devin Vassell had come back from injury, but Devin had left early after only 10 minutes of play. Doug, however, did come in and started shooting the peel off the ball. He was going pretty crazy, but overall, yeah, that was just another very solid team win, as we had all five starters being double digits, and we also had superstar Benjamin Forbes come out and put 18 off the bench. So
in the second half alone.
In the second half alone, exactly.
It was greatly needed. He helped pull us out of a drought, and he hit some big shots down the stretch to kind of put them away. They were trying to come back into the game, and he found a way to knock some shots down. It was awesome.
For sure. Going into the last and probably most exciting game of the week, we played against Golden State Warriors at Golden State, and we beat them 112-107. Leading that charge, I would say that charge was led by Lonnie, then Derrick, closed out by DJ, right? It was a pretty solid night overall, as those three guys were our three players with 20 plus points. I think another thing that we can note is that we held Steph Curry to 27 points on 7 for 28 shooting. You know, the 27 points comes from 5 threes, obviously, right? But it's still very nice to see that we held, I would say, the best player in the world at the moment. We held him to a very, very inefficient night.
Well, he certainly
But
is the MVP so far, and like you said, we did our best job containing him, giving him different looks on defense. But for him to hit the shots that he needed to down the stretch, you could tell why. It's like, okay, this guy is outrageous. But yeah, like you said, I'm very like happy with our effort, the attention we gave Steph. It wasn't like those games where everybody was rotating on defense and then we left their best shooter wide open. Like most of the time, it was, where's Steph? Put a body on Steph, and if somebody else will beat you, that's fine.
exactly. With that, like, I mean, honestly, Juan's kind of been giving his little thoughts. I'll kind of shoot out just a couple thoughts on the week as well, just because, like, I mean, the biggest thing for me for sure was seeing that we, like, there was like that point where it's like almost every Spurs game, right, where you're seeing the lead just slowly dwindle away, and you're just like, oh, well, here it is, it's gonna happen. But the great thing was DeJounte and Derrick stopped the bleeding, right? Like that was at the end of the game, and we were able to just kind of, like, the second we stopped the bleeding, we were able to just kind of go blow for blow with them, and just, they scored a bucket, we would score a bucket, they would score a bucket, we would match it, right? And so that was like a thing that I was really, really happy to see, because we haven't closed out a lot of games this year, and our record shows that. So to close out a game against the best team in the league right now is something, to say the least,
Definitely.
But yeah, and then honestly, with the other games, there wasn't, the Washington game was pretty nice to watch overall, but that Portland game was pretty, like in my head, it was like, all right, this is exactly what we needed to see, type of game, because they didn't have Damian Lillard, and that meant that we needed to destroy them, we needed to kill them, we needed to hit them while they're low, and then just continue to just keep it going, not let them make any needless comebacks.
Yeah, it was refreshing to see because, like you said, they were missing Damian Lillard, so it's easy to go, like, to take it easier, take your foot off the gas pedal, whatever like cliche you want to like bring up. Like you can see like why that would be a game where our young team would not be as focused as they would need to be, but instead they came out and they did what you're supposed to do to like a team that's missing pieces, and obviously Damian Lillard, much like Steph, he like has that offense to himself. And you can tell without Dame, like they didn't really have much going on offense. So we did a good job of like separating, and it just looked pleasant, like to see, like, okay, yeah, we're taking advantage of a team missing a bunch of pieces.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, that's like the thing that at first, at the beginning of the season, we can kind of be like, okay, well, if this doesn't happen all the time, you kind of have to live with it because of the young team, right? But it's definitely a thing where, like, I'm glad we're starting to see us already take advantage of these games, because it's December, So if we can see this become more of the what am I looking here? More of the pattern, like, right? We're seeing more games that we're being able to just win against the teams that we're supposed to beat, that we're not supposed to just let, like, blindside us,
Yeah.
Then it's like, yeah, like I want to see a lot more of that going into the second half of the season, instead of seeing a lot of games where we're just getting surprised because we, like you said, like we would take our foot off the gas pedal or something like that, right? We would stop having the drive, the energy. And the thing that was pretty cool for me, at least, was like seeing our third quarters this week, just because it was just like, oh, that's usually when we, like, kind of dropped the ball, and we somewhat dropped the ball against Golden State at the end of the third quarter. But for the most part, though, like, our third quarters were like what was kind of sealing the deal in the Washington and the Portland game. And I think if there's anything else in the recap for me that comes up to my head, it's not the greatest week from Trey Jones after seeing a pretty solid week.
Well, he had a limited role. I think having like Derrick come back, which we'll touch on Derrick, having Derrick come back full force, like pretty much right. Like there's no
Yeah.
need to go to somebody else.
And so
And
then you can
again,
kind of just tell.
I feel like Trey does well in whatever role you give him. He's not a negative. He's never like, oh man, Trey's just killing us out there. Like he's just doing nothing, running up and down the court. So, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Like you could tell, like his impact wasn't as high, but I think it correlates more with Derrick.
Derek being able to just step up, take more steps.
In the Washington game, like Primo actually stepping in and like hitting some shots, like those type of plays might have been like a Trey Jones catch, dribble, floater.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
no, and I think the only thing that comes to mind for me in terms of just like the quote unquote bad week from him is just the Golden State game, because when they went on that run, it was kind of when Trey was out there.
A little bit of Trey and Bryn, that like that little bit of lineup that we have, like
and
it's like Trey, Bryn, Lonnie.
But like I think if I'm trying to remember, because I was just looking at a couple of the highlights, stuff like that. If I can remember, there was like a lineup where it was literally like, I think it was like Derrick. I'm pretty sure it was like Derrick, DJ, and Trey out there at that point. But like Derrick had the ball in his hands, and then like Trey had like a wide open three, but like
Yeah,
like they just kind of
sized it up, checked his feet, everything.
Yeah.
At least he took it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's a step.
That exactly, like that's something that like I'm glad he took the shot, but it's like one of those things where I know you had stated it beforehand. I know Josh talks about it off the pod, but it's just one of those things where like it kind of does come a little apparent that like him not being able to space the floor can be a problem at times, and I think that's something that drove the like our drought, and then like let them just have the momentum to just keep doing whatever they wanted to do at the end of that third quarter going into the fourth,
Yeah.
But that was like, I think that was like the only thing that I like had like, I guess like a small like tidbit against like oh, this was the only thing that like popped out to me. I kind of think that Trey on last week I had nothing but good to say about him. So it's good for me to be able to just see this and be like, okay, we know he's growing still. We know that we're not seeing the best or worst of Trey Jones right now, because he's still improving, he's still becoming a better baller, right? My only other thing would be like in terms of this week was not seeing Devin on the floor, but having this 3-game win streak. I want to hopefully he can come back healthy next week, and we'll be able to kind of push forward with that, right? We'll be able to see what Devin adds to this team that is currently winning right now.
I agree with Devin. There's no way you add Devin to this team over the last 3 games and he makes it worse. Like,
yeah,
he's not ever going to be in anybody's way. The type of player he is, and I pretty much have the same like sentiments. The week was good. It was a solid like week from everybody, which obviously we went 3-0, but like I feel like Pop's rotations were really good. The Portland game when he had like everybody back really. The first half, like we get out to that big lead, the rotations are great. Devin goes down in that game again, which forces like a guy like, well, we went to the drought, and then it forces a guy like Pop to put a guy like Bryn in, and then he steps up. But in like that type of role where Bryn is not forced to, come out here and play like meaningful minutes the whole game, but you just come in and knock some shots down. That's all you got to do. Get the offense flowing, create some space, and Bryn did that on that Portland game. I was gonna kind of like compare the Portland lead, because like the Washington game was like we got out to a good lead after Derrick's, and then we kind of just like coasted from there. There was no really like scare or whatever. The Portland game, much like the Golden State game, we got out to a big lead early, and much like the Boston game like a couple weeks ago, we got out to a big lead early, and then we kind of just stagnate and we gave up the lead. And kind of like how you said, the third quarter, or maybe like the end of like the first half, like we kind of just make a little mental error here or there, give them like some easy buckets, and then like it's a game again. And to see like in Portland, obviously against like a much less like scarier team in Portland, to just like stop the run was like a good thing to see, to stop the bleeding and then finish that game out. But then against Golden State, yeah, okay, you gave up the lead. You actually gave up the lead after being up 20 plus. You were down 3 points at one point, like with 2 minutes to go. And for them to finish that game out and come out in victory, like you said, DJ hit some clutch like shots, and Derrick knocked down that clutch three off the missed free throw, and then he had hit free throws down the stretch. For us to pull that game out and into the game on a 9-1 run, that speaks volumes in itself, because you're finding ways to win, and you win in different ways. And to see the ball club pulling out like any win anyhow, like it's awesome to see, because these are the games we were losing earlier in the year, where we were winning, had a good lead even into the fourth, and then just fell apart, couldn't hit shots. We've seen the offense stagnate multiple times this year, but to see it stagnate and then it still end up in a win, it's a sign of growth, and it's awesome. It's awesome to see.
Exactly. And you kind of mentioned it. I do want to bring him up just because this was his week, right? It was a Derrick White week, coming out of Thanksgiving into Christmas, into the Christmas month, right? Into December. We had Derrick just be so killer, right? He came out and did his thing against Washington, did his thing against Portland, and did his thing against Golden State. Like it's been great being able to see this Derrick just through a 3-game stretch is one thing like that speaks volumes to me, right? Like it's something that's like I think like we always kind of see it where we see like one game where it's like, okay, well, we see 20 points, but are we going to see another 18 points in this next game? Are we going to see the same contributions, or is the consistency back, right? And if this is a sign that's telling us that Derrick is back, that we're getting he's getting his confidence back, and he's starting to be the Derrick that we all know, that we all appreciate and love seeing him on the court. It's going to be something that like can tremendously turn around this ball club. And it's a thing for me where at the beginning of the year, I was definitely saying that we're going to be in a lot of close games where we're not going to be able to finish them. If Derrick comes back and he starts being like the way that he is at the moment, we're going to see a lot less of me saying that we're not going to be able to close these games out, because he is a smart ball player. And then when he's on it, it just makes him even more of a threat. It makes him that much more of a threat, that much more of a killer. So it's a thing to be said that at the moment, Derrick White is back, and like we can see this ball club being a lot better than the record shows right now. So
yeah, I hope he's back. I never want to like declare anything, because then like it'll come back and bite you.
Yeah, no,
But
for sure.
I agree. Like, it's no coincidence Derrick's little 3-game stretch, we go 3-0. We've talked about it all year. DJ's been the only consistent guy. DJ's had a couple of games here and there where it's just been flat, and he doesn't put up the numbers, or the impact's not there. But throughout the whole year, we've been asking somebody step up for DJ. Like, DJ's been there and Jakob has been out. We talked about like Jakob possibly being like our second best player because of like his impact on both ends of the court. It's no coincidence that we go in this 3-0 stretch after getting Jakob back, and he get back into shape after his COVID, after missing time for COVID, and then Derrick having this like good week of basketball. It's just no coincidence that we're blowing teams out, or we're getting up 20. You know what I mean? Like it just goes hand in hand. Like, DeJounte's gonna put up his numbers, and one other person stepped up. Now, it doesn't have to be Derrick every night, but if Derrick is also on pretty much like every game with DJ, like, then you get a game where like Lonnie goes for 20 like in the first half, and it's like you're up 20 at half. Like, well, we should have been over Golden State, but like that's the impact, or that's the difference, is just having that one other running mate next to DJ. And it's still up to DJ to be like to keep it up and not just like settle back in or take a back seat to anybody. I'd love for DJ to keep putting like, his fingerprints on the game and impacting it everywhere he can. But Derrick's just Derrick's been solid defensively all year. I've never got off the Derrick train because his defense was still there. He was still getting that impact everywhere. Like every time like the analytics would put out the numbers, his defense would be like on-ball defenders would be great. He still takes charges. He still makes the right like defensive plays. Sometimes he gets, drove by or like bullied or whatever on defense, but he's making efforts there. He's never quit on defense, which is why I believe he still stayed in the starting lineup this whole time. And now that his shots start to come back, and Pops even said it, like the Derrick of old, the Derrick we all know, it's no coincidence that we go on a winning streak. Like,
yeah, no kidding.
And then getting Yaka back as well. So you kind of have like a little bit of a core right there, and the consistency of playing together again. It's there.
Yeah, not to mention Doug. Is a thing that I was literally just looking at because in the game against Washington, we shot 44% from three, which was killer. But we only made 8 threes that game. We went 8 for 18, right? In the game against Portland, which was Doug's first game back, we shot 38%, 39% really, and it wasn't terrible. But we ended up hitting 14 out of 36 threes, and that's just with the addition of Doug coming back into the lineup. Now, I'm sure Bryn took a couple more shots in Portland than in Washington, but that's still like a factor for me where it's like just seeing Doug come back and seeing us take 36 threes and then 35 threes the next game, like that's you're talking about Derrick coming back, talking about Yacht coming back, and then we also got to add the fact that Doug came back and
just getting everybody back.
Exactly.
It's no coincidence. Our team filled out. I feel bad for saying this, but like you don't have to play guys like Drew or Kata Bates like meaningful minutes,
and
because those guys are good in spot minutes, but when you're relying on them for 48 minutes, like it can be noticeable.
I mean, KBD does not bring the spacing that Doug or Devin has. Like there's he does well in the ball movement aspect. He does well in the team offense and the team defense. But there's nothing that he's like outstanding at. There's nothing that like separates him from the rest.
His defense and his defense versatility is a reason why he gets playing time. But I agree. Wouldn't you rather just have it like in today's NBA, Doug's spacing over Kata Bates' defense?
Yeah,
especially when you already have Jakob anchoring the defense.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think this week overall has been just a killer week to kind of show us that like, hey, this is a thing that we can do. Like we're not, we're young. Yes, we're still making mistakes. Yes, we're gonna have these frustrating games, but we're also gonna be showing weeks where we are this good, where we are killing it this good, and just like that. Like honestly, how this last week went, I feel like this next week can kind of go just like that. I think that going against Phoenix on Tuesday, then going against New York on Tuesday, Denver on Thursday, and Denver again on Saturday. I think those 4 games, like we can definitely come out if we can punch Phoenix in the face and be able to take out we took out number 1 on Saturday, we take out number 2 on Monday, then this week can be very, very good for us, because at first glance, we see the Denvers and you're like, oh, Jokic is killer, and Denver as a whole might be are definitely going to be pretty hard to beat. But no, yeah, they're struggling right now. They're not a winning ball club at the moment, because of injury right now. Without Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., they don't have a second star behind Jokic right now. But before I get way too ahead of myself, the Phoenix game, I think this is a game that like we have the momentum right now. Like a couple weeks ago when we played them, we were coming off of a 4-game losing streak, and we ended up losing by 4 points, right? And it wasn't a bad game, but it was a game that, like, it I feel like it at the end of the day, like, it could have gone either way, but they had the guys that were able to close the game out, right? They
I,
they
I,
had
I
they
think
had
the
the Chris
score.
Paul and the Devin Booker.
I think the final score was a little bit closer than what it was. I think those were like garbage time points right there at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
I think they had us up by like 10 or so, like closing the
That little
game out.
run, yeah,
Yeah, and
I
we
think
made like a little run after the game was basically over. But I agree, like that was a stretch where we were already reeling, we were falling apart, struggling to get back into it, and then going against a buzzsaw. Phoenix was in the middle of their winning streak, so like, go ahead, finish your point.
yeah. I mean, it was honestly that, like, it was just that they had we were still on the back foot because we were losing games, but we came out and we didn't play bad against a team that we probably could have gotten blown out against. Um,
Yeah,
so now it's we flipped it right now. We're on a 4-game winning streak. We're going to Phoenix, but we have this solid day of rest before we go play against them. And then we're gonna, like, we have all this momentum coming in. We need to make sure that we're staying focused and be able to hit them where it hurts, right? Like, just keep doing whatever we can. I really hope that Devin comes back so that we can have this additional spacing, so that we can have this additional depth, because uh I'd like to say that this Phoenix team prides itself on its depth, but at the same time, our depth can go toe to toe to their depth, other than their top heaviness, other than like their top three, right?
yeah.
You know, and they're 3 through 10, right? They're 4 through 10, right? They're 4 through 10 is, I think that we can compete with that 4 through 10 a lot better than most other teams can, with our depth. And that's going to be something that, like, I want us to, like, when we were talking about it a couple episodes ago, and predicting how the week was going to go against Phoenix last time. I was definitely on that. I think we're going to just take an easy loss and move on from it. But this is, at this point right now, I'm on that, like, well, I want to keep this. I want to keep this streak going. I want to keep seeing us grow and keep seeing us beat these good teams, right? Because if we can beat Phoenix, then the next couple games should be games that we control. Because going against New York, they're not exactly in a great spot either. Um, I don't currently have the record on my stuff right now, but, like, even so, it's New York. I think
Yeah,
the
New York is currently 11-12.
right? So under 500 right now. I know they've had a lot of, like, rotation problems. They're still trying to figure out what their best rotation is right now, because you see things like Kemba Walker getting starting off the year, right, and doing whatever New York wanted him to, but then now he's out of the rotation. You
Yeah,
know, um, I think, like, RJ Barrett, like, started off the year, like, really, like, crazy good,
I
but
think
now
the Knicks in general did, and then now
now
I
they've
think they were
definitely
five and
split
one
him.
at one point. So for them to be, you know, basically 5-10 from there on out, like yeah, they're struggling, and we need to take advantage of that. Like you said, like teams like this that are struggling, um, I'd like to separate ourselves from those, because I'm sure other teams look at us the same way. Like when we're on a 6-game losing streak, like this is a team that needs to figure it out, So
Mm-hmm.
like you said, we're getting to a point where we're rolling. We need to take advantage of a team like New York, and even like the next 2 games against Denver. Denver's 500 basketball themselves, so like I I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this week. I feel like we're a young team, we're on a 4-game winning streak. I feel like we can carry that into Monday, but do I believe we'll be able to have 2 straight weeks of like taking care of the business that you need to take care of? Like it's kind of, I don't mind like a letdown game, like 1 or 2. I'd be very disappointed if we had like a losing record this week. If we chopped 3 games, like that'd be frustrating. But like, yeah, if we went 2-2, that'd be okay.
Right.
Because I like if there are the games where it's like we're fighting, but we're just struggling to, take care of business or stay consistent, like those type of things. That's like the type of stuff I can deal with this young team. But if we just come out flat and we lose by 30, then that's when like I'm up throwing tantrums and everything like that.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. Furious like Pop, right at the end of that third quarter.
Yeah,
That
no
was definitely something that even I like. Once I saw Steph like just kind of trot up and then just take that shot, I was like,
he should
oh
have never cut the ball.
yeah,
There's no way. It's Steph
exactly.
Curry. There's like 5 seconds on the clock. Just hug him. Just don't even let him catch the ball. Let somebody else take a half court shot. Not the guy who is famous for
Yeah,
hitting every shot,
for
for hitting the
hitting.
shot from the tunnel. Like,
Yeah, no kidding, man.
but that's young. That right there is like mental. Like that stuff is okay. Next time we play Golden State, hopefully that crosses their mind. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
Real quick, I'm gonna try to find the injury report for the Suns because I did remember this, right? So at the moment, Devin Booker has a hamstring injury and he's expected to be sidelined for a few games. So that's something that we can keep looking out for. They also have Abdul Nader that is out. He's been rolled out for Friday's game. That was last on December 3rd, sorry. Obviously, they don't have Darius Saric. He didn't play that one game that we played against them earlier this year. And then Frank Kaminsky is out indefinitely since November 21st. So that's a couple. That's at least from what I'm reading. For sure, Devin Booker, right? But two people that's pretty much in their core rotation that's not going to be in there come Monday, right? Like I wouldn't expect Devin Booker to play on Monday if he's expected to miss a couple games from the 1st of December, right?
yeah.
And again, we got to take advantage. We got to take advantage of a shorthanded Phoenix team because Chris Paul can't do everything for them, and unless DeAndre Ayton has a
Monster
historic,
game. Yeah.
like a crazy game, then we got to be able to just do what we can and come out ready to beat. Are they the 2 seed or are they the 1 seed?
They're the 2 seed right now.
They're the 2 seed, right? So then
They're tied. They're both 19-4.
But and then and they're split on the season series right now, right? So
yeah. So they want to win these games. They want to win every game they can, get that first seed. Kind of like how you said, like we need to take advantage of Devin Booker coming out, like, and we were talking about teams like New York and like we knew Golden State was coming off of back-to-back against Phoenix. So like I'm pretty sure that Phoenix game was like national televised for them and everything. So we knew it was gonna be an emotional like letdown for Golden State, or we were assuming, right? Like they're gonna come out flat because they just got done playing a really important game, literally less than 24 hours ago, and we took advantage of that. We jumped at them early. So now coming off a couple of days rest against a team with no Devin Booker, I'd like to see us do the same exact thing. Take advantage of it. Go like you said, go punch them in the mouth early, get them down, make them go. We don't got Devin. This game's over.
exactly.
We got the depth. We got the players. DJ guys to come out strong.
I better not see Cameron Payne drop 20 on us again.
Yeah, and then that's what I was gonna say. Just you don't. I remember the Phoenix game a little bit. I feel like Devin wasn't really going off. He hit a couple of shots late to kind of get his numbers up, but and to put the game away, kind of, because that's what great players do. But like, it did feel like we were getting beat by their whole team. It wasn't like one guy was just killing us the whole game. So yeah, like maybe with Devin out, we can kind of key in and play a little bit more focused defense on everybody and have a couple of guys step up and knock some shots down ourselves and take advantage and beat Phoenix. I feel like we can beat Phoenix because of the way we're rolling right now.
Exactly.
I don't know what Devin Vassell's availability is going to look like, but if Devin looks to come back for that game, along with like how our guys have been playing, I'm feeling really good about that game.
Me too. It's something that like like I said, like we this last week like has just kind of got me like this hyped up. It's got me into a position where I'm like, oh man, I'm ready for us to start taking this league by surprise right now. You know what I mean? Like teams or the media counts us out early, and you know we always expect the media to count us out this early, right?
Yeah, we have like 0 highlights last night from beating the Warriors.
Exactly,
There are
and
highlights for the Warriors losing. They're losing by 20. Steph was hitting shots, and they're like, "Wow, look at Steph." So
like we expect the media to count us out, but it felt like at least for this first bit of the season, like everybody, even Spurs fans, are already counting us out like pretty heavily, right? And just because this last week happened and seeing how we were able to win these games, I was definitely in a lot more of a happier situation, and just ready to see these guys be able to take advantage of a stretch, right?
yeah,
And have some good momentum coming into Christmas.
yeah.
Going onto the Knicks real quick, they only have Jericho Sims. December 5th, it says that he was day to day as well, so that looks to be questionable for him to play
I have
against
no
us.
idea who that is.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you if I recognize that name all too well either, but that's just a player on that roster. Maybe if he's out, because it says that he is a forward for their roster. Maybe if he's out, they call up good old Luca and let
Oh
him come
yeah,
play against
that'd
us.
be interesting to see. Do you know if he plays at all?
I don't think he plays for the Knicks, but um, I have seen a couple things about like Knicks fans talking about him in the G League. Like just saying that like he's been killer in the G League, which
Of
uh,
course he has.
yeah, I mean
That's what
it
we need to look up, the matchup between the Austin Spurs
in the
and
Worcester Knicks.
yep, and
That
see
would be fun.
who comes out on top.
Hmm. Um, Lastly, though, we definitely, I talked about Michael Porter Jr., but there's a lot of injuries to this team, right? So obviously we have Jamal Murray, right? Jamal Murray's been out; he's not going to be playing. PJ Dozier is another guard for them,
I
and
saw that one.
he has a torn ACL, so he's not playing. Obviously, Michael Porter Jr. is going under surgery, so he's out. Austin Rivers from December 1st is expected to miss several games after being placed in health and safety protocols. Um, Guard Bones Highland from December 1st says that he won't play at Orlando after being placed in health and safety protocols. And then Bol has been entered into health and safety protocols from December 2nd. So, other than the Bones Highland person, that's all. And Bobo. I don't think Bobo gets rotational minutes for the Nuggets just yet. But that's four players that should be in a rotation that are not going to be in the rotation. Uh, come these next two games that we play against them.
Yeah.
So that's again injuries. Injuries something that obviously teams are taking advantage of our injuries. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Taking advantage of Yacht being in health and safety protocols and Doug not being there for us to space. So this is our chance. This is our chance to take advantage of all this of being able to just come out and same thing. Just like I said with Phoenix, punch them in the mouth and continue to keep a lead because I don't want to see a close game against Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, he's got so much talent in himself that it doesn't really matter who's around him. He'll still find ways to win games. I know they're like 500 basketball, but like you said, he's basically playing by himself. I I feel like it was Sean on the broadcast a couple of games ago. He talked about how it was like a fast break, and I don't know who talked about it. I don't know why I want to say it was Sean Elliott, but I heard this like little tidbit from Denver that Michael Porter Jr. like picked up the ball like on a fast break, and I think he had like Will Barton like in front of him, and he just never passed the ball. And about like halfway through, Will Barton just kind of just turned and was like whatever, and like looked towards his own bench, like you know what I mean. And then like Michael Porter Jr. just went and scored, and they were talking about how basically like chemistry issues, um, and just Denver not really like meshing well, which makes sense. They got like a lot of I feel like they have a lot of personality. Like I need to score the ball. Aaron Gordon too. Like they're a bunch of like guys who want to be the guy, even though they got the guy, like the guy.
Hmm.
Uh, but
And that's literally the guy who's probably like the most selfless of all superstars on a court. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like I'm sure Jokic does not care about getting his own. Like his own is opening up lanes for teammates and getting the right passes and having good looks, making sure that they're taking the best shot on the court possible. Um,
definitely.
like that's
He can beat you in his zone. He'll drop a 30-point triple double and like that. You got to be careful for him. Once you just shut down Jokic and then worry about the rest later.
mm-hmm, exactly. And this week as a whole can be summed up into just taking advantage, right? This is
Yeah,
something that like it's a good test for us to see what the youngins are gonna do, what our young guys are gonna do with this momentum. See if we're gonna just stop trying after this game, and like we've had all those talks that went throughout the beginning of the year where like Devin would talk about how we had we would win a game and then we'd just be like so nonchalant for like the next game, like we just
yeah,
wouldn't care. And that's something that like um it's cool for me to hear that from our guys because they're taking accountability, but that's something that I never want to hear. I don't
well,
never want to hear.
at least they know. At least they're aware of it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's something that like, all right, well, thank you for putting that out there, pointing that out. Now let's improve. Now let's take this next step and say that we're not gonna just settle. We're gonna keep pushing farther because we want to win games.
Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree. Like to your point, 100%. These are the type of games earlier in the year we won one game and we're like, all right, we're satisfied. And then you come out flat the next game. You come out a little bit like a daisical, if that's a word. And like take advantage of these teams. We kind of are starting to get like all of our bodies back. The chemistry is starting to show like what this team looks like when everybody's healthy and everybody's playing like well together. Um, I wanted
Exactly.
to touch up. What did Chris say in the little chat?
I'll pull it right back up real quick, right? So no MPJ hopefully opens up more looks from the outside.
Yeah, and that guy, he's humongous. Every time we play against him, I forget how like big he is, how tall he is. Um, which I'm kind of glad like they don't they don't have it figured out because and obviously I know he's injured now and they already announced right he's not gonna play the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean he went under surgery. I'd assume he wouldn't
Yeah,
play for the rest of the year.
the size he has, the versatility he has on offense. I know he's not the greatest defender, but just like his length and size, like that should be like one of like the top duos in the league, like
To see.
Jokic and Michael Porter Jr.
Mm-hmm. And then you remember that they have Jamal Murray too.
Yeah,
And
which I guess you can kind of argue like you'll never win a championship with like defensive. And I know Jokic is like his defense is like up and like all his numbers like this year have been
a lot better.
yeah better if not the same like they were last year his MVP season. But it's like at the end of the day like are you gonna get stops right like everybody's scoring can you get stops but I I I agree. Not having Michael Porter Jr. on the court, just in general, and like who would be beside Jokic, Aaron Gordon, what are their lineup? Like, what's their lineup?
Well, I mean, I know like Austin Rivers would get their rotational minutes for the guard position. I'm trying to remember because I honestly I couldn't tell you what their starting lineup is right off the top of my head because I haven't been able to like take a good look at this Denver roster all too much.
Right.
But like I want to say like Austin Rivers, PJ Dozier, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., Nikola Jokic. Like that's like a starting lineup that I could that I could put up in my head right now. Um, let you see if my prediction's right, you know. Um, but yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying on all those ends too. Like, it's just you'd think like I feel like 2 years ago, right? Or honestly more like towards like 2018. You know, they start their run, their playoff runs and stuff like that, and making a high seed. And we play against Denver in the 2018 playoffs, and they start doing their thing, and people are, Spurs fans are getting their first looks at it. The NBA is getting their first looks at it, and they're like, man, you look at this Denver Nuggets team, and they're all so young, and they all look like you know, this is a potential team that's gonna like create havoc in the NBA, and like I never really had like that like thought. Like I
Yeah,
was
that
never really
fear.
on that like they're gonna be this good forever.
Well,
Um
they should have lost. They should have lost to us that year.
yeah,
Um, and so they've made a couple of deep playoff runs though. Didn't they get to the conference? No, they got swept by Phoenix last year, right?
mhm.
So I agree. I've never been as scared because obviously I'm still bitter, but like we should have beat them in the first round. So many moons ago, we were the seventh seed, and it was Derrick White and DeMar and LaMarcus, kinda, but like we should have beat them. And yeah, I agree. They're not as scary. They kind of have like injury ridden guys. I feel like Jamal Murray hasn't played in like 2 years. Um,
For real.
is this still like the
Cuz
same injury from like the bubble or something? What is this?
it's man, I honestly couldn't tell you what like I'm going to go back to the injury report, but I know like because the reason why they got swept last year, if I'm not mistaken, the reason why he's still out is because like he got injured right before the playoffs last year, right? Last
Oh, okay.
last NBA year, um, and then all that stuff goes through, right. Playoffs happen, off season happens, and now we're going into this season, and that's why he just isn't back until I think like halfway through this year. Um, to make his full rehab. Let me see if the injury report does have. Well, it just says September 23rd, and that's like
Yeah,
at
I
the
think you're right. I think it
that's at
was
like the
like
beginning.
before the playoffs last year. He just hasn't been there for them
Yeah,
late because of injuries, and
and
then Michael Porter Jr.'s injuries.
yeah, and no kidding, Chris. Like a healthy Denver Nuggets team is something that's like we understand that's still a team that's like
A lot
pretty.
of firepower, yeah.
Yeah, like when you look at that, like the only like Jamal Murray is technically a good defender. MPJ is not that necessarily a good defender. Aaron Gordon is a solid defender, and Jokic is a decent enough defender. So that defense alone is not terrible. Like that's good. That's something that's passable, right? And in this league, a passable defense is good enough for how strong the offense is. Um,
I
and
feel
like
like they're just gonna be like the same Denver Nuggets, like with Carmelo. Like they're gonna be really good at the top of the standings, and they'll never they'll never make it. But I would never mind like Jokic winning. He sometimes he makes some dirty plays like at our guys too. He makes dirty plays. He does. He always slaps down, and when he like does his little take frustration fouls, like he brings the hammer down
yes,
on like the little guards, and so like that gets a little frustrating and like a little like tic tacky, but like his game, it's all cool. I get it. Like when Denver fans are like complaining about like not getting national exposure because like he's basically like Tim Duncan. That guy just won MVP. He does like all types of flashy plays, but they just nobody cares about him for some reason. And
because it's Denver.
yeah, and so it's like as a Spurs fan, you can relate to that and you feel bad for them. But those other guys, I'm not too like scared about, like Murray, Michael Porter Jr., and Gordon. And
I've
I mean,
always
I remember the first game. We should have won the first game against Denver this year, but that game, Keldon came out firing, and him and Aaron Gordon were like getting at it. Aaron Gordon was trying to like get chippy with him, and I love how Keldon and like really our guys never really like respond, but they just like play on the court. And Keldon was like giving it to Aaron Gordon, like taking it right at him.
Yeah.
And I feel like DeJounte could take it right at Jamal Murray. And I don't know, Michael Porter Jr.'s got length, but I feel
Devin
like we take
Vassell
it.
can kill
I
Michael
feel like
Porter
we take
Jr.
it
any
right
day
at
of the
that
game.
guy too. Obviously, they got more firepower than we do.
Yeah.
Just that lineup alone, like, but yeah, I mean, I want to see how we fare against Denver these two games. I feel like we'll split those games this week. They're both going to be at home. We're going to be like in the middle of a home stretch during that. So let's see.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And Chris, hopefully that trip is was nice to you. Hopefully you have
Yeah.
a nice safe trip back, right? And for sure, hope that that Derrick White is continuing to play well. Exactly on all the points that you're talking about right now, and you know, like you said, 3 more wins. I think that's kind of a perfect transition to go into what our weekly predictions are going to be. Obviously from that you kind of hear what Chris had said, right? 3 wins, assume a 3-1 week. Josh had told us off the books that he was a 3-1 week for him as well. Juan, what do you got to say? What do you think about the week?
Oh well, I'm gonna take the completely original take and say 3-1. I
Oh,
I feel like we're gonna roll into Phoenix off of this win streak. Um, And then that New York Knicks game, I feel like we can pull out, even if it's a tough game, even if Julius Randle has a good game, RJ Barrett, whatever the case. I feel like we got the same amount of like depth or playmakers as them. We can even if it's a tough game, I'll take that one. And then we'll split against Denver. I don't know which one the first game might be a letdown, and then we respond on the weekend. So
right.
that's kind of how I'm feeling. It's a very optimistic look, but the whole reason we've been having, and Chris always jokes about like I'm gonna take that 2-1, it's because like kind of how Pop said earlier in the year, like the worm is gonna turn. Like we see like how close we are. Everybody can see it and feel it, and it's just a matter of putting it together on the court. And last week was just they finally did it. Like that's what we had been asking for, basically like predicting like all year, and that's kind of how I feel. Like we'll roll right into the week. I feel like the young guys they're getting it together. I'm not gonna say it's a finished product. I don't want it to be a finished product, but like they're all playing well, and that's where I'm at right now. 3-1.
3-1. Yeah. I might sound like a bit of a copycat, but I'm gonna go ahead and say 3-1 as well.
Oh no.
3-1s across the board. I usually, you know, I'm the safe better. I'm the one that's like, oh, 1-2, two, you know, like whatever. Probably would have been smart to just go 2-2 this week, right? But like I said, I think this entire hour has just been me being like, look, we're playing great basketball. We got to continue to play great basketball. Like, you know, it's a thing for me right now that I want to see us take advantage of this. I couldn't really tell you what game that I would predict us to lose, because all 4 of these games have to be games that I'm like, this is our game to win. You know,
Yeah.
like I'd much rather see a 4-0 week than see a 3-1 week.
Hey, if
At
we
the
go 4-0, then you get -10.
at the same time, I'll go ahead and show the updated leaderboards because nobody had gone up on anything. Nobody had predicted a 3-0 week, but I went 1-2 on the week, which meant I lost a point, and then because we went 3-0, I lost another point.
Because of a
So
very special rule to all you listeners out there. Uh, Jake is very pessimistic and he kind of, hates us. So he always wants us to have a losing record. So we put it on we put it on Jake that if we go 3-0, he put it on himself actually. If we go 3-0, then he gets an extra minus point.
yeah, so you know, I think that puts this at least it puts this scoreboard a lot closer right now with me and Juan tied and Chris and Josh tied. But still, I'm excited for this week. I definitely think it was funny because at the beginning of the year, I was definitely like excited for these 4 games stretches, because it was like, all right, well, we might have a good amount of variety now in like our records, but of course, this just happened to be the week they're like coming
Hey,
off of a win streak, and we look at
hey,
next week and
we're rolling. That's why everybody's on the train.
exactly. So
And
to
it's
see.
so fun. Like we cheer these guys on. We never. I know, like us, our all of us, our brothers, especially. We don't root for losses. Like we're not trying to tank. It is so much more fun. I know the end of the year could come and the draft lottery could come and we might get like 10th or something like that. You know what I mean? And people will be like, "Well, it's because
We
we
should
won.
have tanked,
It's
right?
because
Like
we won on that 15-game win streak after losing six." You know what I mean? Like it is to me. It's okay. Like that, you're building a winning culture. Like to all the people who say that, look at the end of the game last night when DJ and Keldon like embraced each other. The Spurs Twitter like was posting it like the gif of them like they were hugging each other. Like the emotion, Keldon was like sweating. Like you can see the emotion. Like these guys are trying to win ball games. And as a fan, like oh my gosh, yesterday was so stressful. The anxiety, like every shot we kept missing, it was like Steph's gonna drop 50 right here in the fourth quarter.
hmm
And for us to pull that game out, like that's what it's so much fun and exhilarating. Like the 4-game win streak, you just forget the 6-game losing streak that just happened. And so like yeah, I just enjoy Spurs basketball so much. I'll watch every game, even if we go 0-82. But like these guys are trying to win ball games, and that's because there's no culture saying, "Yeah, just throw this season away." You know what I mean? It's evident.
exactly. And that's I feel like that's like the thing that's like it only separates us from the other teams that like are always at the bottom of the barrel. And
Always.
like I don't know, like I see like things that like New Orleans is doing and how they've pretty much just fumbled the bag again for another year.
Yep.
Zion's gonna come back, but who knows if he comes back in shape?
Well, is he
Who
gonna come
says
back? I mean, every time they're like, and that's in our division. Like that's supposed to be like a scary, like, oh my gosh, they have
we have to deal
Zion.
with Zion Williamson for
Yeah.
the next
And
8 years? But
yeah, he never plays, and I know he's effective when he does play. I know he's awesome, and I love watching like his highlights too. But like this year, every time he gets ready to come back, it's another setback or another
hmm
like something. And um, yeah, like you said, like those teams, New Orleans. There's that soundbite from like the Kings after like we'd beat them and they like lost a couple of games, and Tristan Thompson was going off like these teams are supposed to be tanking. They don't want to win, and we're losing. Like he knows in Sacramento they're just a losing team, and he could just see it. He's like, we're losing to tanking teams that don't want to win. He's like, we're supposed to be different. Like that. That's like a veteran being vocal about like, no, like we're not. We don't want to just lose games. That's never good for you. Um, and he talked
exactly.
about like San Antonio saying like he didn't exactly say we wanted to tank. He just said like, yeah, I'm sure they're trying to win. Pop's trying to win. Um, and like I don't know if you heard that soundbite, but it's like at least he like recognized that we weren't trying to tank and those other teams were. Even if we might not be the best team, we're not
hmm
trying to tank.
Exactly. And I mean, I can always appreciate being a Spurs fan like that because I don't think I'll ever be disappointed with us.
Yeah,
I get obviously I don't think anybody's wrong to say that they're frustrated, right? And you can be frustrated with the moves that we've made because they haven't been like the greatest moves. They've been a little questionable. We're not the perfect organization. We're not going to make the right move every time, but we've definitely like with the decisions that we've made, we've definitely like have taken advantage of whatever we can. You know, like
yeah,
I really hope that like within the next couple years, like we see that like the DeMar sign and trade was just like the most killer move ever. You know what I mean? Like, or at least like we see what we got when we traded for DeMar and Jakob and KJ, and then we see what we got when we traded DeMar, and you think about that as a whole package. Now we trade that and we get more. You know what I mean? Like
hopefully, yeah. I
based
agree.
based off of the one trade that we made, we're making more moves, and then Yak and KJ are two rotational pieces that are helping this culture. So it's like I'm like I'm always of the mindset of just like, man, I really want to just give it time and see what we can do. Like we don't need to rush any processes right now because we got to really see what we have before we can make something drastic, you know?
I 100% agree. And people complain about like our front office and not like making the right moves or whatever the case. But like they literally like who all besides Thaddeus Young, they added Bryn Forbes and Doug McDermott, two
Zach
shooters,
Collins.
and Zach Collins, and they added two shooters in Doug McDermott and Bryn Forbes. They drafted Primo, who obviously has shown he can shoot, and they drafted Joe. How do you say his name?
Joe Wieskamp or Weiskamp,
Weiskamp,
one of
or
those two.
Wieskamp. But like all of them, they're just shooters, like And then Thaddeus was obviously just like a piece from the DeMar trade, and then Zach Collins, I like how Josh and Chris are always talking about, like he's gonna bring size and hopefully shooting, like some spacing, versatility, and like the front office went out and made moves to bring a little bit more spacing to the core of DJ and Keldon and Jakob. You know what I mean? Like those guys who are predominantly attack the basket or inside game. Um, so like it's gonna take some time. Like obviously like a guy like Primo, even maybe like Doug, like to settle in. You know what I mean? Like, but I agree. The front office makes moves, and we're trying to win. There's no effort to just like give up. And so
But then like there's no effort to like just stay in the middle of the pack, right? Like because they're I
which
don't
is
know
what
if
we've been doing with DeMar and
yeah,
LaMarcus.
and there's no like I don't know if you've seen any of the stuff from like Indiana, right? But like there were a lot of reports within like this last year and a half over like people from the Indiana organization or like players, anonymous players and stuff like that, just kind of talking about how the Indiana organization does not care about winning a championship. Like they don't
Right.
care about losing, or they don't want to lose. They don't want to be a bad team, but they do not want to, like they don't care about pushing for a championship.
They don't
They're
care enough, right? They just
yeah, they're perfectly content with having one all-star on their team, having some depth, and being a solid playoff contender. And that's it. At the best. And like that's like a thing for me where I'm like, I pray that we're not doing that. You know what I mean?
ever. Yeah.
Like
And it's a good sign that the Spurs kind of got like a little bit of new ownership, but the ideals still stay there. So
exactly.
like yeah, and then to keep it in San Antonio is obviously like number one, but like yeah, it's that's what we talk about. It's a winning culture. You don't just lose games. Like you don't purposely lose. You're just gonna kill your fan base. You're gonna kill your culture. You're gonna turn off the players you already have. Like it's just not a good look. And I like what San Antonio does. We're gonna naturally say we don't make the playoffs this year. Say we fight every game. We fight, you know, our hearts out, and we don't make the playoffs. We're gonna add another guy, just like Primo, just like Devin, and it's gonna be another piece, along with the development of 5 or 6 guys, and then we might have cap space to just I don't know throw money at like a game changer, and like
sign DeAndre Ayton to a max deal.
yeah. So it's like it's the possibilities are there to like speed it up a little bit, but the the trajectory we're on, and honestly, this is a good way to end the show because I want to talk about this a little bit with Josh and Chris is like here as well to hear like what they got to say, but there was like a certain time when like a certain individual who were like the number two, was like really young. He won Finals MVP. They were talking about him being the next big thing for San Antonio. He got up to like average around like 20 points a game, and people thought he's done it. He's ascended. This is his next. Like this was the next step. He has an offensive game, and we were satisfied. We're like we never expected him to even be this to begin with. For so for him to be at this point, it's amazing. And then guess what? The next year, he took another step. And then he was averaging like 25, 27 points. And it's like, there's a guy on our team right now in DeJounte who's literally at that 20 point per game step. He might be a little bit older than what the other guy was at the time. But like, DeJounte's game, once he starts getting to the free throw line more, and like a night like yesterday where he had 3 of 7 shooting from 3 point land, and he ended up with 23 points. Like DJ averaging around like 25 points a game with like getting to the free throw line and then like 2 or 3 3-pointers a game. Like that is, I feel like, the next step for him, and I feel like it's just very reasonable. And so if he can be the guy, and then you add another guy who might be even even if he's the number one guy over DJ, if DJ's your number two like that, that's fine. And I don't know. I just like the way we're going. I feel like DJ can take another step and be that much more of a difference maker.
Yeah, no kidding. I think everybody on this team can take another step. Now, I guess in terms of more realisticness, I think some people have smaller steps. You know what I mean? In my personal opinion, like a guy like Devin's going to take a larger step than Derrick or Lonnie, right? But I think
Derrick's a little bit. This is who he is. He's a great
right,
all around player, but I agree.
and you know, like I think that it's okay to see that these guys can still get better and all that kind of stuff. At the same time, I think one of the things for us to understand is that like even if these guys are gonna like continue to progress and get just a little bit better, it's sometimes it's just not in the cards for us to kind of keep everybody on this squad. You know, like there's not always going to be the way that we can have everybody that we draft and be able to, you know, be content with that. Like I think one of the things for me, like when I think back on it, is like Kyle Anderson. You know what I mean? I loved Kyle, and I feel like if Kyle was on this team still, like there's, I still think he can contribute and do whatever Kyle did, right? And he plays good ball for the Grizzlies, but it just was not in the cards for us to keep him when it happened, you know. And
Yeah.
He still somewhat progressed in Memphis, you know. He didn't get worse or anything like that. He stayed.
He killed us in the playing game last year.
Exactly. So like that's like for me, like that's a prime example of like I don't think anybody's like on anybody on in the Spurs fan base is like, man, imagine if we had Kyle Anderson right now.
Well,
You know what I mean?
I've had thoughts. I've been meaning to bring it up. Like, how would Kyle Anderson look back on this team next year? Like, if we
Right.
brought Kyle back, because I in the spot of like when we were starting Kata Bates Diop for a couple of games, like stretch, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
if that was literally Kyle
A
Anderson,
backup four like that.
yeah. If that was no, we were starting Kata, and I was like,
Oh yeah,
if that was Kyle Anderson right now, like how much, like that'd be
better.
another playmaker, and he can knock down that shot now, like a little bit. So
Yeah,
I don't know if he quite fits the team because it'd be another guy with the ball in
another
his hands.
spacing problem.
Yeah, but
But no kidding,
I
and
agree. I think it's going to be sad if we have to let go of a guy or two, but you can kind of already see the DeJounte, Primo, Devin Vassell big three for the next 20 years starting to shape up.
exactly,
So,
they're taking over the league.
like yesterday was the perfect example of like Lonnie doesn't need to be 20 points, like 5 points here, 5 points here, 5 points here, 5 points here, like each quarter. Lonnie is a spark plug type of guy. Like come in, light it up, change the game in that little bit,
Mm-hmm.
flip it
Oh,
either way or extend a lead, and then
and that does remind me. I know this is a lot later in the recap or whatever. This just does remind me, but I think Josh kind of talks about it. If Lonnie attacks the rim, he's so much better. He like if he just attacks the rim, like they're going against Draymond Green in the paint, like at that point, and that's not like the most secure thing in the world. Draymond's still a good interior defender, and Lonnie did not care. Lonnie was like just attacking the basket, and he got his points. He got what he like. He
yeah,
contributed the way that he needed to at that point.
I agree.
And
He attacked the basket like that whole stretch, and um, it it opens up everything. Well, his when his 3 point shot was falling, that's kind of what led to it. He hit the first two threes, so then guys are just running out to the 3 point line, and
mm-hmm,
he's just way too athletic for like anybody to stay in front of him.
exactly.
And I agree. I like that was like the perfect example of like, please, Lonnie, do this every night. And before we end the show, I feel like DJ talked about it in his little post game presser last night. He said like, I tell Lonnie he can do this every night. Like the thing with Lonnie is mental. So all his players, all his his best friends, all his teammates, they all know the same thing we kind of pick up on. Like they're saying it like it's mental with Lonnie. It's just putting it together. He's capable of doing that. I'd like to extend Lonnie, even if it's cheap, even if it's a little bit expensive. Just extend Lonnie. Like keep him a part of this team. He's going to get better. Like there's no.
I think
I don't see a downside.
I'm not expecting anything because the Spurs don't ever do anything that we think they might, right?
Yeah.
But I think in terms of what I would like is, even if it's like a solid deal in terms of money for him, may not be like the most beneficial for the Spurs as an organization. If it's only like a 2-year extension or a 3-year extension, I'm not hurting. You know what I mean?
No, I want a 5-year extension.
I don't know if I'm because that depends on the money. That very much depends on the money. Like if it's a 5-year extension, then I want it to be no more than 10 million,
No,
no more.
kidding. I was just kidding about 5. But like I don't see why not. Like a 3 or 4-year extension at like a reasonable price, like 12 to 14 million. Like if it's like anywhere like around there, because we're gonna have to pay Keldon 20 million at
And
least.
that's why I'm on the fences of that, right? Because
Which I think is
every
fine.
every year we're gonna have to start paying Keldon, then Devin, then like etc. Right? Like, and it just moves on. Primo, like it just every
It's
year.
fine because eventually they're all going to be 20-point plus per game scorers. And we're going to average a league high 140 points a game because everybody's going to be so elite. No, I get it, Jake. You're going to like it's a sad reality, like you said. You're going to have to probably let go of 1 or 2 guys. And hopefully another 1 or 2 guys show up, kind of like how DJ like looks,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of force your hand to say, we're keeping you. But it's gonna be the DJ Primo Devin show, and it's and then maybe you add like a starting 4 here or there. We finally signed somebody.
Personally, I would love if we did the OKC route and went like that 3-guard lineup. Like, I don't know if you watched a lot of like that year with CP3 and OKC, but anytime I watched that and I saw CP3, Dennis Schroeder, and Shea like do their thing, I was just like, bro, this is so efficient. Like, I like this so much. Now, granted, your head of the offense is Chris Paul, and that's something that you don't have Chris Paul's everywhere across the league, but still. If I saw a 3-guard rotation for us, like I don't know what I'd do, because I feel like that was one of the most efficient things that I've ever seen in a long time.
I kind of wish we would have got a little bit more of like DJ Lonnie, which we had DJ Derrick Lonnie like to close the game because Golden State didn't really have a big like at all ever. So like the spacing was there, the attacking the basket was there, but like that'd have been cool to see like DJ Derrick, Devin, Lonnie, and Keldon at the 5. Like that type of lineup.
It's just it's so fun to watch.
Against super small ball teams. It'd be fun to see, but in the playoffs, I'd never go for that.
Oh, no kidding. I think that's exactly why OKC loses against Houston in the bubble, because they don't have the interior presence. They don't have anything to stop any type of bleeding. So even though James Harden like sucked from outside, they were able to win.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Juan, you were given all these last notes. Do you really have anything else to say to wrap up the show?
No, that's pretty much it.
Right? Yeah. I'm excited for a good week of Spurs basketball. I know the last couple weeks I've been saying they've been short episodes, but now we actually got an episode that's just a good cut, right? But it's been good. Just the last thing to say, we do this on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Every Sunday at 10 a.m. Make sure that you catch us when we go live. But if you can't catch us when we're live, we do have the VODs on all 3 platforms that you can watch and be able to catch any part of that you missed from the podcast at all. Make sure that you do go check out our Twitter at Heroes Half Court. We do talk about Spurs basketball whenever the games are on. We like to talk to the community, and we love it whenever the community talks to us. So
Anybody out there, if you ever interact, if you ever watch the podcast, if you ever like see the Twitter or anything, like feedback is always welcome. Let us know what you think. Even like your opinion, even if you disagree. Any type of interaction, just building the Spurs culture and Twitterverse, everything like that is very welcome.
exactly.
We
But
don't
with that,
mind disagreements. We're all Spurs fans. We all want to win a championship.
yeah,
If you see something you don't agree with our take, even if you disagree, say something. Let us know. We do not mind disagreements. We might have
Exactly.
different opinions. We might seem like we're arguing back, but it's all fun. It's all for the Spurs.
We all have one love. It's all San Antonio. But
2-0.
yes, sir. With that being said, though, I hope everybody has a wonderful and blessed week. We are now in December. We got one more month in this year, and then we're going into a whole nother thick of it, right? Whole nother thing of life. But with that, I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and we are out.